Welcome back to Ghost Powered Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Hulu. And real quick before we get into this, if you could do me a favor and hit that like button, because that really does help this channel out so much. So for those of you not familiar with this channel, once a week I dive into one of the popular streaming platforms and come up with 10 horror movies to recommend for you guys. And this week I jumped headfirst into Hulu and came up with 10 horror movies that I think you will enjoy. And with that, let's get to the list. Alright, so to kick this list off is a little movie called Monster Hunters.
Tracks end here. Definitely Bravo team.
They don't just disappear.
So I did a full review of this movie earlier this year when it came out, and I was pretty hard on it. I was very unhappy with it because of a number of things. It's another one of those movies where they throw a bunch of money at CGI and there's nothing else to it, no story. It's not worth a damn as far as any real meat on the bones. It's just a bunch of CGI explosions and monsters, and we're all supposed to be happy with them spending $60 million. Sometimes that gets to me and gets me frustrated, and this is one of those movies where I got upset. But the difference now is you're not paying $10-15 to go see it. It's on Hulu, and it is a big stupid creature feature, and I love big stupid creature features. And yes, it's a lot of stupid CGI, but it's still fun, okay? And if you go into it not expecting to see a legit movie that you're paying $15 for, but instead to see a big stupid creature with middling special effects, then I think you will definitely enjoy it. It also stars Mila Djokovic, who is really the reason I wanted to see it in the first place, and she does do a great job in this.
Holy shit.
Just don't expect any story really at all, or any character development at all, but I think you could still have fun with it. Next up, The Vigil.
בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
So this is a movie that not enough people are talking about, but it is a fantastic, kind of slow burn, very creepy and disturbing.
There is something very, very wrong here. We have to go now.
It definitely has a really unique take on hauntings and things like that, because it's through the lens of Judaism and the type of creatures and their lore and their legends that they have, and it's one that not a lot of us are that familiar with. So I love this movie for that. But just in general, it's well acted, well executed, beautifully shot, very creepy and disturbing, and just a fun little movie that I'm telling you is really worth a watch. I did do a full review of it, so it's right up here. So if you want to hear me talk more at length about this, I definitely recommend that. But no matter what, it's a movie I really, really strongly recommend.
The Mazik will find another broken person. It will never
Behind you.
All right, now we go to Arachnophobia.
Come with me and look at the web.
The web? I have a
Terrible fear of spiders. Come on, we live in the country now. It's time to work through this irrational, paralyzing terror.
So this is a movie I've adored most of my life. It's definitely got some great nostalgia for me. It goes back to the 80s and 90s era where I was, growing into this big fat man you see today. I love this movie. It's about these creepy crawlies that become giants. So you got giant spiders coming out of everywhere in every scene. It's just bonkers, wild, a lot of fun.
Would anybody object if I tore this floor out?
I would.
False alarm, then lead on. There's no spider here.
A movie that will definitely give you the willies, especially if you're not a fan of spiders. But I think it's a blast, and it's just got that really fun 80s, early 90s kind of stuff on it that I absolutely adore. This is just a really fun creature feature that I definitely recommend.
Hollywood Pictures and Amblin Entertainment present Arachnophobia. 8 legs, 2 fangs, and an attitude.
All right, next we go to Jennifer's Body.
Hey, Jennifer. You look really pretty.
Why don't you just come by my place?
Well, this is random.
This isn't really your house, is it?
We can play mommy and daddy.
No way.
And recently, this movie has kind of gotten this new life. I've heard a lot of people talking about this movie more and more and more, especially after the Dead Meat Channel and James A. Janice talked about this movie. It's gotten a boon, and I've heard more and more people talking about it, and justly so. This is a movie that was promoted really poorly, in my opinion. It just painted this picture that it was all about the sex and Megan Fox and this lesbian thing going on, and it instead didn't show you the creepy, fun, scary, really cool kind of movie that this thing really is. But this is just a very cool movie that has been underrated for most of its life. But like I said, it's getting new life now. Just in general, it's a very entertaining little horror movie that if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it.
Thought you only murdered boys.
I go both ways.
Now we go to Soul Survivors. Alright, so let me just be honest. This is a shitty movie, okay? It is. But it's one of those movies that has a soft spot for me. It's almost like comfort food for horror in a strange way for me. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s movies just have that. There's this really gross, shiny glow about them that's like everything's too polished and it's ugly in that way, but also just a lot of fun for some reason in that way. Like, it's got this really silly, over-the-top teenager cast where you know none of them are actually teenagers and everybody is too sexy for their own good. Nobody really acts in a way that any real normal people act. It's just got that Dawson's Creek kind of thing going on with teenagers that's just ridiculous. But there's something about those movies that I just always find to be a lot of fun. And this is one of the ones that isn't talked about that much. And I think if you are someone who enjoys that era of movies, stuff like Cry Wolf or Urban Legends, like if you like that kind of movies, and I do, it's like a guilty pleasure, but I love those kind of movies. So if you're someone who enjoys those, then I think you will definitely enjoy this one.
There's no one out here.
He was here. He was right there.
Next is one of my favorite movies from the last few years, and that is You're Next.
I just want you all to know how much it means to us that you're all here.
Thanks to Mom and Dad.
What is that?
So I've recommended this movie every time, basically, that it's come to a different platform. And now it's Hulu's turn. And so I'm like, hey guys, you need to check this movie out. A lot of people have, but there's still quite a few people that have not checked this movie out. This movie checks all the boxes. It's got great gore. It's got an incredibly badass survivor, just a savage. Like, she's not so much of a survivor as just someone who takes it to the villains and just seriously fucks their shit up. I love her. She's one of my favorite new heroines. I actually did do a list of my top 10 heroines from horror, and she's on that list. So there's a link up here to check that out.
This wasn't a random attack.
But she's just fantastic. But just the movie in general, it has humor, scares, gore, just badass moment after badass moment. Some really cool masks and costumes, and just in general, like, it has all those things I love about horror movies. And I think if you have never seen it, I think there's a really high chance you'll love it. So I recommend you check it out. Alright, so the next two movies are kind of my double feature weekend. I've been trying to do this on these lists where I pick out two movies that I think would make for a great double feature weekend. And this is the first one, and that is the movie Escape from LA.
Welcome to the theater. For everyone's enjoyment, we'd like to remind you of the following rules. Failure to obey these rules will result in immediate loss of citizenship and deportation to the island of Los Angeles. Enjoy the show.
Your rules are really beginning to annoy me.
So a lot of people saw Escape from New York, and justly so. It's a great movie. It's a lot of fun. It's John Carpenter. I mean, dude, what else you gotta say? This is one that I feel like in a strange way has just been overlooked because it is more over the top. It's more campy. It's more gaudy and cheesy and got that 80s, 90s weird bright lights, like all that crap all over it. And I think because of that cheesiness and that campiness that it has in spades, it just kind of got overlooked. But it's one of those movies that is just incredibly fun. I think this is one of the more fun John Carpenter movies. Not necessarily anywhere near one of his best, but as far as just pure entertainment, having a good time watching a stupid movie, this is got it. It's got a lot of great characters that just have really cool costumes and special effects and lots of just cheesy, campy fun to be had throughout the whole movie. Just in general, it's basically the same story as Escape from New York, but it's just now in LA. There's not a huge difference in as far as the story, but it's not about the story. This is a movie that's really just about having fun, turning your brain off, watching some campy, over-the-top special effects, and just crazy, outlandish character after character. Just in general, this is a blast. And I mean, for God's sake, it's got Snake Plissken, one of the coolest characters that I've ever seen, if you know what I mean.
Nobody draws until this hits the ground. You ready? Draw.
All right, and now for the second part of my double feature weekend is another John Carpenter movie, one that's not talked about nearly enough, and that's Ghost of Mars.
It was supposed to be a routine prisoner transport, but here, a million miles from home, they're about to discover nothing is what it seems.
So this is like the next John Carpenter movie, and there's a lot of the same qualities in Ghost of Mars, except for instead of it taking place in this apocalyptic future LA, it takes place on Mars. It's just this crazy fun type of movie that has these ghost sort of spirits possessing these miners and people, then make them into almost like these vampire type of creatures.
We got a situation here. Everybody in the mart's gone inside.
What the hell is going on out there?
I'm not exactly sure what they're supposed to be, but it doesn't really matter because it's just a fun kind of movie that's set in the future and has that early 2000s kind of crappy CGI going. To me, it's just added charm on this movie. And if you could just not nitpick it and just look at it for what it is, and that's just a fun, over-the-top kind of sci-fi horror movie, then I think you'll have a blast with it. So I definitely recommend making this your double feature weekend.
John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars.
Next, we go to Predator.
Deep in the jungle, where nothing that lives is safe. You lose it here, you're in a world of hurt. An elite rescue squad is being led by the ultimate warrior.
We need the best. That's why you're here.
So this was one of my favorite movies growing up. It probably is the movie that made me such a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. He's just amazing in this movie and just an absolute savage in this. There's just nothing to me to not love about this movie. It's got all the horror things I love, all the sci-fi things I love, all the action movie things I love. It's got guns, big old guys that are kicking ass.
You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed.
Violent, gory moments, a creature that is one of the coolest creature designs ever made. This is one of those Mount Rushmore sci-fi horror type of movies that I feel like you'll never ever be able to duplicate. And so as much fun as maybe some of the sequels have been, none of them can hold a candle to this, and I feel like will always go down as one of the best ever done. A movie that I will always love and always recommend.
20th Century Fox presents Arnold Schwarzenegger. Predator.
All right, and then last up on this list is a movie that is an absolute blast, and that is Willy's Wonderland.
Welcome to Willys Wonderland. Spend the night cleaning Willys Wonderland, and I will pay to have your car fixed.
So it's funny, I actually just went and saw the movie Pig, which stars Nicolas Cage. It's his newest movie.
I remember every meal I ever cooked. I remember every person I ever served. You live your life for them, and they don't even see you.
And it couldn't be more further from what this movie is. Because Pig is a very artistic, powerful acted. Like, in my opinion, this will be a Nicolas Cage Academy Award nomination. He probably won't win an Academy Award for it. To me, it's one of his best performances since Leaving Las Vegas, but it's really a brilliantly acted movie, but just a totally different kind of Nicolas Cage than what you'll see in Willy's Wonderland. Willy's Wonderland is just a goofy, cheesy, absolutely fun movie that I think Nicolas Cage just hits out of the park. He doesn't say anything. He has to convey everything with just his actions. It's just great to see Nicolas Cage still kill it and perform his ass off while not being able to say anything. And watching everything have to do with body language and the way he looks at things and just the things and actions that he does. I just think that it's absolutely a blast to watch. And I mean, I've always wanted to see what it would be like to have these animatronics from like Disneyland, Chuck E. Cheese, whatever. I've grown up with animatronics. But having them just go crazy and go on a killing spree and have Nicolas Cage just kicking some ass and killing them, breaking them, whatever, that is just like a dream come true. And as much as I know some people were disappointed because they thought it could have gone even further, they didn't do as much as they were hoping they would do with this, I personally got everything I was hoping for out of it. But it's because I just didn't expect too much from this, and I got exactly what I was hoping for. And that's just an over-the-top, crazy, exciting, entertaining type of movie that's really just like a cartoon come to life. So it's a movie that I love, and I highly recommend it, especially while it's on Hulu. But that's going to do it for me today. Please leave your comments down below. I love hearing from you guys. I'd love to hear what movies from these you've already seen or what ones you plan to go and check out. No matter what, I always appreciate you guys putting comments down there. And if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this. And I post videos like this at least 2 times every week. I also want to give a huge, massive thank you to my patrons, because your support seriously helps me keep these lights on, and I appreciate it so much. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.